Hey guys, welcome back to another Ask the Roofer guest series video. Back with our buddy Matt Dehan. We did well on the first couple, so we're doing some more. Wanted to talk a little bit in Charlotte proper, even out in the surrounding areas, houses that are a little bit older, like before the 1980s. We have to deal with it a little bit on siding, as like lead paint, like asbestos on the roofing. You deal with the lead a lot more because when we're tearing it off, when we're doing siding, we just tear it all off and we bag it and we dump it. It's not a big deal. You guys are actually having to sand it off. And talk to me a little bit about that, or talk to our audience a little bit about that. Why it's important to have someone that knows what they're doing, and how do you get certified for that, and kind of the process that's different from how you do just a regular house that didn't have lead paint.
So lead certification is something that I actually received last year. So our company is certified to work on houses that have lead paint.
And what does that mean? That you're trained and...
So that means that I am trained and I am the certified renovator, and then I train all of my guys on how to properly execute the job. The reason it's so important is, I mean, it's a microscopic amount that I couldn't even show you with my finger, and it causes serious brain damage to children, so pregnant women, things like that. It's really dangerous. So we really try to take the extra step and make sure that we handle these jobs right and contain everything. So for exteriors, it looks a lot like any exterior painting you've seen, except for the prep. So the prep stage, we have to plastic off the yard to make sure any paint chips that fall are contained. Our guys have to wear PPE, so they have to wear their Tyvek suits, their respirators, their gloves. Right. So not only that they don't breathe it in, but so they don't bring it home to their kids.
That's a good point.
So that they don't get it in the seat fibers in their car, and then their kid gets in and gets it on their shirt, and then they're exposed.
All goes downhill from there.
So it's containment. It's keeping it, whatever's there, in that plastic. And then when we're done with the job, we can take that plastic and we can roll it up. We can spray it down with some water to keep the dust down. Then we can take that to the dump and dispose of it properly.
Gotcha.
So once we have all the scraping done, all the paint chips are there, we can then use a HEPA-Vac and actually sand it and contain the dust from the sander. Instead of just taking the sander and just sending dust into the air,
float everywhere,
letting it float, we actually have it hooked up to a HEPA-Vac and it's contained. And then we'll encapsulate it. Well, not encapsulate, but we'll seal it in with an oil primer, and that keeps it from coming back. Hopefully, is the hope there.
Gotcha.
Versus latex, which is going to be a little more flexible. We like to seal it in with that oil and make sure it doesn't come back.
Permanent solution.
Right.
So that makes a little bit more sense of why it's so important. And I mean, we've talked about this before, and you've probably lost dozens of jobs because you're more expensive, because you know what you have to do to prep for lead, whereas some other random person is just going to go in there. What kind of, obviously the consumer gets a cheaper price, but what kind of dangers come with not prepping and just letting that go everywhere?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like the ethical thing is what got me. Like, I wanted to take the classes because of the new regulations, but like ethically, like one of my employees' kids could get sick, or your dog. I mean, your dog could be out in the yard doing his thing and get into some paint chips. I mean, it's really any small organism is what the lead affects, or even dogs or cats,
or even the house you're working on. If they've got a fresh air intake into their air handler, I mean, it's going to suck in the air from where you're sanding it down. Pull it right into this person's house.
And I mean, to me, that's the biggest thing, and that's why I really like to do it that way. But beyond that, I mean, legal ramifications are intense. I mean, if you, I mean, even for just the contractor, I don't want to put a dollar number on it, but it's something that would put you out of business. So if
not worse.
Right. So if there's a contractor that's not certified and somebody from the Health Hazard Board comes up, they're going to shut that job down and fine you if you're not certified at all. And at that point, your house is left in this partially done phase, which is, I mean, then hard to get another contractor to pick up.
Over. Or even, I mean, worse than that, if someone gets sick and they track it back to, hey, this contractor doesn't know what they're doing.
Right. I mean, that's what I always try to think about. I mean, whether I lose a job or not, I mean, I'm taking the right steps.
Yeah. You don't want to risk hurting somebody.
Right. Even just to have to deal with that on your own conscience.
Yeah. For obviously our audience sake, what year range would you be more careful about? Obviously all the houses going up now in the last 10, 15, 20 years, we don't deal with it anymore. Mm-hmm. But if you're looking at a house, at what year, like, hey, this home's, this old, what's that gateway to where you start looking, testing for lead?
Yeah, so lead paint was taken off the shelf in 1978. Yep. So I view it as anything before 1978, I consider lead paint.
Okay.
I can test it, but that means you have to test all sides of the house on the siding. Then you have to test all of the trim. So you have to test the window trim, the fascia trim, the door trim.
Everything.
And that's obviously a time-consuming and an expensive thing.
Right.
Where I just want to be on the safe side. So I take the few extra precautions and just treat it all as lead to make sure that everyone's safe. And
is there a way, I mean, and this might be a rabbit hole question, is it pretty obvious, say it's a house that was 1978 that's been painted several times since then, can you tell whether or not it was done right to where you don't have to do the lead stuff anymore, or is it pretty much, hey, if it's before that, we're going to be safe?
Right.
Treat it like
lead paint or oil-based paint, they have a different appearance than, say, latex paint. Most contractors today use latex paint. It's become a very popular thing. It's more flexible. It's a little bit better in a lot of ways. But lead paint and oil-based paint, they chip different. They don't peel and become this flexible layer. They're this hard piece that comes off. And
like an enamel that kind of breaks off.
And it comes off hard in these big pieces, and it's really sharp. And that's what lead paint was used for, is because it had that hardness, which made it stand up better. So in its day, it did have its use, but you can tell just by the hardness of it.
Even if it's been painted over?
So when you paint over it, you're still going to get the lower substrate off of it. So just because even when we come in and we go in and we sand your house down, we can't get all of that paint off of there. Gotcha. There's still going to be some lead-based paint on the bottom layer. We get off as much as we can, but without taking heat guns in there, you're not going to get it off. And at that point, you're now taking that lead paint and you're making it into a gas, which is even more dangerous.
Yeah.
So if it was before 1978, chances are, unless it was resided, that it has lead paint.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So if your house is older, if it's before the 80s, then definitely if you're having painting done, do your due diligence, make sure whoever's painting it is taking that precaution, because it's not just, oh, they're worried about a fee. It's like, hey, this could get in my house and kill my pets, kill my kids, or do serious damage, cause illness. And it's not just the, oh, we're just, it's a little bit cheaper and we're avoiding a fine for the painter. It's could be dangerous to your health. So
I have people all the time say like, oh, well, give that to me as an option. And I'm like, no, like that's not an option anymore. It's not something that you can decide you do want to do or you don't want to do. It's something you need to have a lead certified renovator. So.
Like, I'm gonna buy a car, but seat belts make those optional.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Does that create, I'm trying to plug myself a little bit here, not really. Does that, the additional cost for doing lead, obviously the siding's in bad shape, they need to replace it, but just as the siding's in good shape, it just has lead paint, is the additional cost to repaint so vast that it'd be better to replace the siding and be done with that issue? Or
at some point it's nominal? A consideration. It really depends how well you've kept up with your house and how much scraping it needs. I've done houses that take 2 days per side to get the lead paint off, and I've done houses where we've prepped the whole house and done everything we needed to in a day. It really depends on how well the house has been upkept. And
so there's a breaking point where it might be, hey,
I mean, it could be an extra $500 or it could be an extra $5,000 to $10,000. It's really a huge range depending on the condition.
But that's something that you could educate your customer on and kind of advise them which direction to go, because even if they got new siding, it'd have to be painted.
But then at that point, forever you have it encapsulated, so you're good. So it is a good thing. So At some point, it's something to definitely consider and not have to deal with, because when we test for it, if it's built before 1978, we actually have to cut an X into that siding to go down to the bottommost layer.
Wow.
And that's what we're testing. We're not just testing what's on top.
Right, yeah.
Because when we're scraping and sanding, you're getting to that lower layer.
Yep.
And that's what you need to find out about.
Nice. So again, if your house is in that older bracket, make sure your painting contractor knows what they're talking about, has the certification, and doesn't put you in a really bad spot. And if it's at a cost point where we can do the siding, selfish plug, do the siding. I'm just kidding.
By all means.
But yeah, and we always talk about this, any good contractor can educate you on, here are your options and here's why this is, you know, better than that, or here's the pros and cons of each. It's not just a, hey, here's what we do, that's what you need, and just trust us. So again, if you need painting stuff done, talk to Matt. We'll link all of his information up, and roofing, siding, window, gutter questions, leave them for us. We'd love to answer them, and thanks for being with us again. Thanks for watching another episode of our Ask the Roofer video series. If you like the content, please like, share, or subscribe here on Facebook or on our YouTube channel, whichever way you prefer to see it. And if you have questions, we'd love to get your input, see what you want to learn about, and do our best to help explain those things to you.